It's over. These people are going to jail. This mass psychosis we call MAGA is melting down right in front of us. And wait till you hear what Donald Trump did today that is absolutely comical to all of us on the left. And we are just absolutely elated over this. This releasing of these files, which is not the actual Epstein files, has been the best thing that could happen all week. You know, we were upset about the shutdown cave-in, but this was a great comeback. So here's the deal. Donald Trump reached out to the DOJ and asked them, you ready for it? You ready for it? He asked them to reopen the investigation of the Epstein files. Now, it gets better. To target the Democrats. And the DOJ is like, FBI is like, because they closed the files, they've been protecting them, and now he's like, open it back up and get the Democrats. And we're looking at him like, did you just say that, stupid motherfucker? Did you just say that? And all of this stuff is coming out on him. This is just the light stuff. But it gets better. It gets better because they're finding all of the connections that show that he absolutely lied. They're finding all the connections that show that Ghislaine Maxwell lied. They're finding all the connections that show that Epstein was definitely going to get him. If Epstein was unalived and didn't unalive himself, the smoking gun is pointing towards Trump because everything that's tied up, the most ridiculous, crazy. Plus, they tie him in with the Russians. The Russians, y'all. These people are going to jail. Now, let me break down who's going to jail and how. I'm going to break it all down. The first thing you want to get and understand is that they're going to try to get Trump, but they can't get Trump in office. In office. But what about out of office? Well, that's where it's going to get interesting because out of office, he's an open target for everybody because everything he did with Epstein was before he even became president. So no immunity for you. But who could come after him? Well, I've said this before. I'll say it again. That if he did anything with these minors in the state of New York, Letitia James of all people strikes back. The Empire strikes back. But it gets better. It gets better. Keep listening to me now. It not only becomes that, but then when he's out the door, he's out the way, it opens up targeting the cabinet. 70% of his cabinet is going to jail. 30% of them are going to put them in jail. They're going to turn state's evidence. Whoever ain't going to jail is turning state's evidence. Pam Bondi in trouble. And the only way Pam Bondi can get out of trouble is if she throws everybody in the DOJ under the bus and claims, I didn't know anything. That's going to be a hard claim, but she will throw them under the bus. And these idiots at the DOJ who believe that they're staying there, get the hell out of there. That's why all of those prosecutors out of New York, from sis on down, ran like hell out of there. They ran like hell just to get away because they know that if it's illegal, they'll lose their license at the very least, and maybe even their freedom. There's so many of them going to jail. Who else is going to jail? Well, there's a good chance Marco Rubio, who worked a deal with with El Salvadorian president, to turn in actual witnesses and informants of El Salvador back to El Salvador. They're probably dead now. Yes, he can go to jail. Hegseth and Gabbard have done so much national security issues. They're going to be all over it. For instance, my senator, Tammy Duckworth, not the other fool, Dick Durbin, who sucks, caver. I'm talking about Tammy Duckworth. She's the type of person who would do investigations. Her and Warren would do investigations on national security and break these guys down. They're going to jail. Some of them it's going to take time. The others going to go state's evidence and turn it in. On top of that, you go back to Epstein. Oh my God. There's enough stuff to get Trump out the door. But even better, what's going to happen is he's like, turn over to get the Democrats. It's the Democrat. No, dude. You are done. And so is MAGA. MAGA's ass is over. They have done this and played this shit to a wrap, y'all. Spread word on this video. I'm trying to tell you, this is a game over play. They have just straight up screwed themselves times 100. And you know what gets me? They're continuing to struggle and waffle around over this, but the reality is that they put their own selves in the middle of this. That's the crazy part about it. They insisted on doing this. He sold you, I'm going to release the Epstein files. Right. He sold you on, there is no Epstein file. Well, he didn't sell you too well because you, even MAGA, didn't believe it. Right. And then on top of that, he's going to come in, and this is the audacity. He's going to come in and tell people they don't need SNAP benefits. I'm going to talk about that in my next video. The whole idea is this. There's this audacious approach that he has that has worked for him until now. It's your ass, motherfucker. It's your ass. And on top of that, what's going to really be interesting is to see the other characters go. Stephen Miller's going to get in trouble with them deportations of Americans. He almost got into contempt of court with Judge Zenitz over the Garcia case. They brought Garcia back real quick, claiming they couldn't bring him back. They brought him back then. Then you got people like Tom Homan, who's the border czar, who accepted $50,000 on tape in front of 2 federal investigators. Even if they got rid of the tape, they still got the 2 federal investigators. He's caught. He's done. It's a stick and fork in him. He's done. So given that he took that money on camera in front of federal investigators, the thing we know about the federal government, even if they try to hide shit, it can come back later. Okay? So there's that. Then on top of that, we got a whole bunch of other characters, such as thousands of ICE agents. Thousands of ICE agents in trouble, y'all. They're going to jail. And the whole idea of them trying to hide behind this whole we're doing stuff for the government. No, the government didn't say slam women down to the ground and slam children down to the ground. No. You know, I'm sure the police in every city is like, wonder why we don't get away with that. Seriously, they're going to jail. They're going to jail. There are customs agents going to jail. There are State Department people going to jail. And here's the thing. They have pushed this to the line as far as they possibly could go. Here's the thing I also want you to pay attention to. When we talk about Epstein, the main stuff has not come out. They're going to find this dude with little girls in very unusual positions. They're going to have these victims, which I don't know why more people aren't just paying attention to the victims and saying, hey, they were right. I mean, who screams this much for a decade plus saying this happened to me, that it didn't happen to them? And all of them come with the same stories, and will know when they release those files through the victims' attorneys. They're going down. Here's the other thing, and I talk about this in my Clarity group, Grooming Inc. See, the scariest part about this Epstein stuff is that these people, these young girls, most of them weren't kidnapped. They were brain fucked into doing this shit and put in the positions where they had to, whether they didn't have money. Like the story that came out about Gates. Gates is over there preying on girls who are homeless and work at McDonald's and barely got any money. So they preying on people, young girls, in positions. The other thing they're doing, and I don't say this enough, and not enough people say this, their boys this is happening too as well. It's not just girls. Their boys this is happening too as well. Where they preying on them and they're trying to condition them to think that this was some sort of good thing or this was a great thing for them. They're being pimped into those positions. The other thing you got to understand with Grooming Inc., it doesn't just happen with billionaires. I have reports on this in the Clarity Report talking about this. It doesn't just happen with millionaires, billionaires, and with Silicon Valley. It's happening with everyday neighborhoods. It's in your neighborhood. You watching this, it's in your neighborhood. But it doesn't show up like pimping girls on the streets walking the track. It shows up like beauty pageants. It shows up like teen sports. It shows up like PTA. It shows up like ballroom dancing. And I'm not saying all of those industries are fronts for, but it is a place where the predators hide. It is where they get together. is where some of them are wearing badges. Some of them are fathers, some of them are mothers, and there's a capitulation there that's happening. And they're running around sharing girls and boys in everyday neighborhoods, not just in billionaires and millionaires and Silicon Valley's on a plane. No. I remember the bling ring. Remember that? Look it up, the bling ring, those kids who was going around into celebrities' homes and robbing them. And two of those girls were sisters. And their mom used to be a party girl, and mom knew about what they were doing. Mom knew that not only the bling ring stuff, but mom knew they were getting on planes with millionaires and flying because she used to do the same thing. So she understood. I want you to understand, this Grooming Inc. is on a whole nother level, and it hides, permeated right here in the underground that's there. I've said this before, and I say it again, the Epstein list, whether it be the stuff that's out from his estate or the stuff we're trying to get right now on the votes, that stuff is like if sex trafficking and grooming were New York City, that would be the equivalent of a stamp on a postcard in the Empire State Building, in a sub-basement of the Empire State Building. That's how small it is in comparison, because there's so much going on. The problem that they're really worried about is not only revealing Trump, but revealing people in that industry. Because if you reveal them in that industry, then they, instead of getting the heat, taking the heat, get the heat off them, they're going to point out all Trump's business that we may not even have in the Epstein files. You understand that? They're going after his sons. His sons are part of this too. You know that, right? His sons are part of this. This is an ongoing thing. This is not just this. This is it's a generational thing that's happened for 100 years, y'all. It's much bigger than Epstein. It's much bigger than Trump. But they'll point back, just like I said, all of his cabinet, 70% of his cabinet going to jail, and the 30% are turning on the 70% state's evidence. Same thing. Oh, it's on, mother. It is on. And what I want you to understand in this bigger pictures, this is the MAGA melt end of what is happening. What we're looking at is a breakdown of Trump, but we're looking at a breakdown of the power between the executive branch and Congress, and him having this power over Congress. This is the end game. Now, what we need to do is continue to spread word on the end game. The thing I've talked about for months is ESGN, but the shutdown was the S, and that's ended. So now we got EGN, which is Epstein, gerrymandering, and no kings. And the gerrymandering ain't working for them. They're getting their butts kicked. Indiana just failed today. So the idea is it's either going to be even or we going to win on the left. It's one way or another. And so while they're watching this breakdown, at some point, individuals going to have another No Kings Day. The E part that I love is coming in with Epstein evidence and just basically disproving everything that came out of Trump's mouth for the last 15 years. Because he basically, there's no way I was involved. I was nowhere near. Oh, really? But you had Thanksgiving with them. You sit there and tell all of these lies you want to. We know what's going on. And I'm telling all of you, just stand strong, hold tight, understand what's happening. But most importantly, as we go through this, we're going to listen to this man suffer from all his liabilities and take the insolent truth for this. What's the insolent truth? The truth is he did this stuff. The truth is he's caught. The truth is his people are going to be revealed around him. The truth is they're going to cover themselves by throwing him more into the fire. The truth is this administration is going to jail. And the ones that ain't going to jail, the 70% is going to jail. The 30% that ain't going to jail is turning on the 70% that are. And we're watching it. And it's wonderful. And it's terrific. They're going to jail. Yes, they're going to jail. That's what's happening. Now, here's what I want you to do in the midst of empowering your peace in the midst of this. I'm talking live tomorrow about how to empower your peace in the midst of Trumpism and how it's over. I may jump on a midnight session tonight too and talk about Trumpism. I may go there. I may really go there. So look out and see if I have a live pop up there. But I want you to understand there is a bigger picture to this stuff. And what we're talking about here is that we have a waiting game going on. It's a waiting game. Here's how the waiting game goes. What we're doing is we're waiting for this to pretty much pull him down to a certain level where he's gotten out the door. Because once he's out the door, he can't protect the others. Now, some of you are going to come out and say, well, he has immunity. Yeah, he has immunity there. He don't have immunity to all this shit with Epstein, and he knows it. That's why he's nervous. Well, Darren, you say the staff is going under, but they could get pardoned by J.D. Vance. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe, maybe not. Remember, there's been infighting with JD and the rest of the staff. They're people he ain't going to necessarily pardon. He's going to try to get as far away from and let happen to him whatever happened to him. Here's the other thing that gets interesting, too. What if the states come after him? I said this in the beginning. Letitia James could go after Trump after he's out of office. Well, guess what? If they did anything wrong that the states could pull together a case and go up against cabinet members, they could do it and convict them. And guess what? A president cannot pardon a state convicted individual. What could they do as states? Well, there's a lot of grifting going on, right? Well, what else is there? Deporting American citizens. They could win that one. There's a lot of stuff that they could take on and really pull down the administration. If they're very strategic, they'll wait until when Trump's out and JD's in, they'll wait till a Democratic president comes in where they know they ain't getting pardoned. And they'll hit them like gangbusters. I've been saying this all year. It's going to take years to get this guy, to get Trump, to get JD, to get Marco Rubio. It's going to take years to get the cabinet. But once they got. This is not a case of why is he getting away with it. It's why he's getting a weight with it. W-A-I-T, a weight, as in wait for the other shoe to drop. The thing we know about the history, operations, and laws of our government, remember that, history, operations, and laws of our government, is that it may be slow, but it is definitely definite. It took years to get Nixon. Years. They'll get his ass. They will get his ass. I want you to understand how important that is to understand, because we're dealing with a patience game. But the great part in the short run is that Epstein is tearing them down, step by step. You know, when this man goes silent, we got a winner. He ain't saying nothing to the press. He ain't got quiet. That's Trump. Oh, this is going to be beautiful. But it's going to take time, y'all. And I want you to understand that. It's going to take several months. There are 4 options out there, and I've talked about them. Obviously, the first is, and I'm totally against violence, and that is, having an assassin. Don't do that. Please don't. Because 1, I'm not for violence, and 2, going after him like that makes him a martyr. Secondly, he could die natural causes. I think he got 5 to 7 months, honestly. But if he dies, he gets away with stuff, and he can take secrets with him, and his family can always point to him and get away with it versus him being alive. The third one is grifting. He's grifting left and right, y'all. But the grifting takes years. But the short route is Epstein. They can get him with Epstein. They can push him enough with Epstein. That could push the impeachment. That could push the cornering of this man. And once he's impeached and out of office, he becomes a target to everyone, starting with Letitia James out of New York. Because if he did anything with those little girls in New York, game. And you can't pardon, JD can't pardon a state convicted felon. It'll take time, but the first thing happens, let's get him out of office because he's unstable. Second thing, we got to take care of watching JD, because JD is going to be a pain in the ass, and we got to watch him either crook or criminal his damn self. Okay? We got crooks and criminals all over the damn place. And then the next thing that needs to happen is we need to wait and see how this is going to be targeting the cabinet. You know, the first thing I tell people is we got to decode drama. I say this in my clarity group. Decode the drama, identify the data, and then we got to develop ourselves. It's the weekend. Hopefully you're enjoying your weekend, movie night, whatever works for you. But don't be sweating over this. This is the beginning of the end. Watch my next video.